911, what is the location of your emergency?
Shooting at pools. There's a shooting, active shooting at pools.
Where? Where are you?
It's in the Orange Avenue Pools nightclub.
Pools Nightclub?
Yeah. They're shooting. They're like this. Oh my God.
Okay, stay on the phone with me. Don't hang up.
Emergency 911, this is Dr. Lawrence.
We have a mass casualty incident in downtown.
Oh my gosh.
My brother is in there. His position right now is in the unisex bathroom.
Okay.
He's telling me there's already 4 dead in there.
And you said he's telling you that there were 4 dead there?
Yeah, and there a lot of them that are wounded in there.
Okay.
And there's already 4 dead.
They need to shelter where they are. And if the suspect is there, he needs to keep himself safe. So if he needs to put the phone down so he doesn't see that he has the phone, then that's what he...
Okay, I understand. We are in the club. We're searching for everybody. We're pulling victims out. Please just have patience. How old is he?
He's 20.
He was in the bathroom?
Yeah, he was in the bathroom with some other people.
What's up, party people?
Hello, hello, hello.
Forgive us for switching things up on you. Our second episode of the Slida Massacre would normally be playing in this spot, but due to the date, there is a very significant event that happened in the LGBTQ plus community. And my girl, Lav, who is an ally, want to discuss the Pulse nightclub mass shooting that happened June 12th, this day, in 2016. Normally, we would be coming to you talking a little bit in the beginning, being a little silly and things, but this event is very dear to my heart. And we want to not only stand in solidarity with the brothers and sisters that we lost at the Pulse, but also with their families that are still suffering to this day. If you are not a person that wants to hear about this, we have nothing against you. I hold no animosity towards anybody that does not support my lifestyle, because it's my lifestyle. And I don't think everybody needs to be a part of it, and I don't think everybody needs to accept it. However people feel about it is for them to feel. And so catch us on the flip side. But here we go. Lav, do you remember the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting?
I do.
So for our friends out there, on October 1st, the day before my birthday, in 2017, Las Vegas was hosting a country music festival, and they were rocketed by Stephen Paddock, who fired thousands of rounds and to the festival. He killed 60 people. He wounded 413, but that number would climb to approximately 867 injured due to the panic that Paddock created. Country music fans all over the United States mourn the loss of those, and they stood together as a community. But just the year before, on June 12th, 2016, the LGBTQ plus community was rocked by a deadly, senseless act of terrorism. As the bartenders announced last call on the Latin flavor event at Orlando's Pulse nightclub. Omar Mateen walked in armed with semi automatic weapons, opened fire on the 320 patrons. Patrons like Patience Carter, who heard the shots from the dance floor, Brandon Wolf, Orlando Torres, Eddie Justice, who ran to hide in the large women's bathroom. As the gun smoke and dust settled, 49 people had lost their lives and 53 were wounded. This was the largest act, the largest hate crime ever committed against a community that I have been a part of since I was 8 years old. As allies and members of the LGBTQ plus community celebrate our history this June, Lav and I bring you the second worst mass shooting in the United States. This comes around at a time that America was still recovering from 9/11. We had never been attacked on our own soil by somebody else, and a country dared to do that. And in the aftermath of that became a panic when people saw Muslim or Afghani or Iraqi American citizens. But one Afghani citizen earned that fear, and his name was Omar Mateen. Born in November 1986, Omar Mateen demonstrated from a young age, a petulance personality. So he had a very unnatural interest in sex and violence in junior high.
Wow, that's young.
And he was like a pandemic of violence. Everywhere he went, he was a bully. And following in his father, Sadiq Mateen's footsteps, they both were known to disrespect women and were monstrous husbands. So, I mean, everybody has, skeletons in their closet of terrible marriages, terrible relationships. But these two seem to kind of make it, and I'm not going to say it's their heritage or their ethnicity, because monsters are monsters, and it doesn't matter where they come from or what color their skin is. Monsters are monsters.
I agree with that.
During his classes witnessing of the 9/11 attacks, a teenage Omar cheered. He jumped up in class, telling the whole class Osama bin Laden was his uncle
Wow.
and had taught him to shoot assault rifles. As impressive as that may have been to this young man, it was complete bullshit. He did not know Osama bin Laden other than the same as the rest of us, what we saw on the news.
Okay.
Omar was obsessed with law enforcement. He wanted to be a cop. He wanted to be a cop so badly that he applied at 3 different Florida agencies.
Damn.
And then went to the police academy. But he would fail miserably. He basically flunked out of the police academy. So he became a security guard.
Okay.
And Lav, I know from a lot of our true crime stuff and just from other things, that a lot of times security guards that commit heinous crimes started out wanting to be law enforcement, and this is kind of like second best.
Right.
Married twice, Omar was violent and abused his former wives. He was more violent to his wives than his father had ever been. His first ex wife actually talked to CNN and told them that he would make her stand with him, and he used her as a human sparring, like a sparring partner. Mateen often talked about Sighu Cho to his coworkers.
Okay.
He liked to make it sound like he and the Virginia Tech shooter were friends.
Oh, interesting. Virginia Tech,
So,
that active shooting always interested me because he's to date is the only one that has ever used chains or any other equipment to lock people on the inside.
mhm. Yes, he is. And so not only did Omar talk about him like incestuously, you know how sometimes in soap operas or in telenovelas where you get attached to a character, so you talk about that character, or
Right.
like in your series, you talk about that character like you guys are best friends. This is what he did for with Cho.
Okay.
And some people even reported that they believed they may have met or may have, you know, swapped stories.
Damn.
Mateen was a self proclaimed jihadist who swore allegiance to an Islamic terrorist group and its leader, Abu Bakr Ali Badah.
Okay.
He was also an associate Dizhuka to Sarger, the Boston Marathon only surviving bomber.
Okay.
They actually were friends.
They never met in person, but they messaged back and forth on the internet. And I mean, like Lav and I consider Lav to be one of my best friends, one of a very near and dear person to me. We've never met. We've never
Right.
met in person, but it was the same with them. Um, Omar could be heard constantly making homophobic hate statements. His second wife, who divorced him, well, she actually didn't have to. She became his widow, but she tried to distance herself from him after the shooting. Talked about how they went to Walt Disney World Orlando, and he made constant comments about same sex couples that he would witness holding hands or engaging in public displays of affection.
Okay.
But here's the kicker to this, and I cannot wait, you guys, to hear Lav's reaction to this. So when they went and took his 3-year-old son, and they were going through, and he was making these comments, guess what day he chose to take his family to Disney World?
I have no idea.
So, Disneyland and Disney World puts on a weekend event that is for Pride Days. And they did this way back when we were only allowed to be domestic partners before we could legally marry. And they did this as a, publicity to encourage same-sex couples to bring their families and to give them a safe environment to enjoy the theme park.
Right.
And He specifically, and it's not a secret, guys. It's not a secret. It's not like he showed up and all of a sudden was like, oh shit, this is when the gay people are here. No, he knew. It's advertised like worldwide. So he chose that day specifically to go.
So June 12th comes. Omar Mateen learns that one of the leaders of the terrorist group known as IS is killed in an airstrike. He is thought to have been motivated by Abu Wahhabi's death. He arms himself and heads to the Pulse. The following timeline outlines the hell Omar Mateen brought with him. Anybody that does now or did in their past, or even, not even, it doesn't even have to just be a club, but like bars. What's 2:00? Or what's even better? What's 10 minutes to 2, Lav?
Last call.
Last call. And anybody familiar in that will know, like the whole saying, last call for alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
You don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here.
Yep. And if you're in the Navy, that's when you ordered like 5 more drinks.
Well, if you weren't done with your date, that's when you ordered 5 more, and you ordered beer in the can, and you tried to, or the bottle, and you tried to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
smuggle
didn't
it
use the
out.
cans because the cans would crunch.
Yeah,
But I could
you tried to smuggle out with the bottles.
I could definitely fit 2 bottles between my boobs and sneak
Okay,
out.
I'm not even surprised.
You could probably fit like 6 in yours.
Well, I was gonna say I can smuggle a 6-pack because I'm gonna be honest, and Ticketmaster, if you're listening, you didn't hear this. I refuse to pay like $15 at a concert for a watered down drink.
Right.
So
You just gotta make sure
when
you're wearing a baggy enough shirt and all good.
But
All
that's
good.
the thing. I don't even have to wear a baggy shirt. I can take the whiskey bottles and I can actually hide it, like a pint of whiskey I can hide underneath one of my breasts.
I could probably hide a pint in between my boobs.
Yep. I mean, which I only do if I know I'm not driving home. Because I won't even take a sip and drive. That's just my personality. So at 1:58, Omar Mateen enters the club, only minutes behind Eddie Justice and his friends. 320 club goers scramble as Omar, aiming for the center of the dance floor, begins to spray the crowd with bullets. An officer who is pulling an OT shift engages Mateen, but totally outgunned, calls for backup. Now, this guy was a hero because we've talked about the Uvalde shooting, Robb Elementary. We've talked about the McDonald's massacre in Sanya City, and
Right.
how those police officers fucked that whole thing up, and that's why so many were lost. Not this guy. He saw the automatic assault rifle, and all he had was his Glock, was his service weapon, and he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna grab anybody I can, I'm gonna start pushing them out the door, I'm gonna call for backup, but I'm gonna try to get this motherfucker. So he shot back at a guy shooting at him, not only with an automatic rifle, but with a semi-automatic handgun as well.
Right.
And he was able to get a backup call out, and it was picked up by 2 nearby SWAT team members who were on patrol. Because I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but if you're law enforcement and you're on SWAT. SWAT's like a special duty. So you're still a patrol cop, or you're still, a beat officer. And if you get a call that SWAT's needed, then that's when you go and you get your SWAT gear, and you go to work.
Yeah, I think most of the time they have it with them.
Yeah.
We had ours. The Navy
Uh,
has a similar reaction
yeah.
force.
That's out here in Merced County where I'm at. That's our SWAT guys and our search and rescue guys. All of their stuff's in the back of their cruisers,
Mhm.
and they start getting it on while the call is made into the SWAT department, where the other guys start mobilizing. And I just say guys as a general term because it's not just men. We have women as well. So they show up and they start engaging Mateen in a gunfight. Backup officers rush in during this exchange and begin pulling people out. So, dodging gunfire, not only crossfire, but gunfire from Mateen, these officers rushed in, and in 4 minutes, you heard me right, party people, 4 minutes from the first officer's radio call, over 100 law enforcement officers from different agencies arrived. Mateen at 2:05 barricades himself in the large women's bathroom where numerous club goers had gone to hide, shooting at the tightly occupied bathroom. Now, Lav, going back to your, Navy, going back to your service, can you kind of explain what happens in a kind of contained, small, medium-sized contained area when you've got semi-automatic or automatic weapons?
So, well, with any bullet, I guess not any bullet, because it depends on how they're shooting too, but if it's like metal or brick or anything that's not normal drywall, then the bullet is going to ricochet off of it, and it will travel within anywhere from an inch off the wall to 12 inches off the wall, and it will just keep traveling down the wall, and it'll hit a corner and ricochet off and go in different directions. So it never really stops. And so in a small area like that where you have the metal dividers in the bathroom and everything, you can just imagine that bullets are just bouncing everywhere. It'd be like a ping pong game.
And any club I've been to, if they even have a reflective surface in the bathroom, it's either like plastic plexiglass or metal, or there's nothing. So I imagine even with plexiglass, even especially with the metal, same thing is you've got it bouncing back and forth like a tennis match.
Right.
At 2:09, social media becomes flooded by posts of people who were able to get out or had already started to leave before the shooting started, telling them to stay away from the pulse and any surrounding areas. Law enforcement and trapped club goers would suffer a frustrating 3-hour process to assemble SWAT and emergency crews. Now, the reason it took 3 hours, because I know you guys are like, well, that's Uvalde, that's, the McDonald's, like they didn't get their shit together. No, that was the thing. They were getting their shit together.
I mean, it's different like that sort of setup. Like the first responders are police or SWAT or anybody like that, and their requirement now, I think it's a federal, I could be wrong, but I know that they have to respond within a certain amount of time now. Like the closest person has to be there within several minutes, and they don't get to wait. If they're a single man unit, then they go in by themselves, which is the scenario that you're talking about. And then anybody else that comes in, the next team usually they just keep adding to the initial officers. So if 2 people are there, they just keep adding until they have about a team of 4. And then after a team of 4, everyone that comes in after the first 4 people that get there, their job is to get people out. They're getting survivors and injured out of the way. And so that's what's happening. You have 4 people in there trying to kill the bad guy, and all the rest of the cops showing up are getting people out. And until the whole building is cleared, fire department and EMS and anybody there to save lives don't go in.
No. And the reason that there was this 3-hour process was because, like you just said, within 4 minutes, there were 100 officers there. But they went after, they needed armored vehicles, they needed higher powered weapons. And, unfortunately, it's not like
they probably had to set up different levels of triages and stuff too. They had to set up a containment area for witnesses. They had to set up, different
Exactly.
levels of medical needs. And so that all takes time to set up and place.
Yeah. So this wasn't a situation where people were running scared or didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. This was a situation where they knew the mass amounts of chaos and death that was occurring, and they were preparing for it.
How long did it take them to neutralize him?
Roughly about 3 hours.
So he went into hostage.
Yeah. So what happened in the meantime that they're setting up their crews and stuff, hostage negotiators have showed up, and they begin trying to get him to come out, because what had happened is when exactly what you said is when the 2 SWAT officers started exchanging gunfire with Mateen, he went to that large women's bathroom we were just talking about. He went in there, he started shooting, and then he barricaded himself in it.
Mm-hmm. And so the tactics when that happens is switch. As soon as the gunfire stops and the person has now barricaded themselves in, they don't engage like they would for an active shooter. Police then back off, and they start to negotiate with them, unless the gunfire starts again, and then they would. But this doesn't sound like that's what happened. Eventually, he stopped shooting, and they backed up, and probably all the police officers left the building and just kind of stood by, waiting for and the negotiators to do their job.
And they're waiting for the negotiators to tell them what's going to happen next. But here's the thing. This motherfucker has gone in. He has shot people in a bathroom. So like shooting fish in a barrel.
Right.
He's barricaded himself, and he calls 911. And guess what, party people? We have his 911 call. And here it is.
Emergency 911, this is Dr. Lawrence. You're reported. What?
I want to let you know I'm in Orlando, and I did the shooting.
What's your name?
My name is, I pledge of allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi of the Islamic State. By the way, there's some vehicles outside that have some bombs, just to let you know. Your people are going to get it, and I'm going to ignite it if they try to do anything stupid.
Okay, I understand that, and I'll pass that along. Can you tell me what vehicle? Because I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No. Well, you need to know that they need to stop bombing Syria and Iraq. The U.S. is collaborating with Russia, and they're killing innocent women and children, okay?
I hear what you're saying.
My homeboy, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, did his thing on the Boston Marathon. My homeboy, Munir Abu Salha, did his thing, okay? So now, it's my turn, okay?
the SWAT team now, as they're starting to kind of get their tactic down, get their what they want to do, their plan. They're trying to quickly look for these potential bombs. Um, Officers continue to pull people out, and as well, you talk about some smart, brave people. So there were 8 people that were in the back by where the DJ would be, and there was an air conditioning vent there, a big air conditioning unit with a vent that went out into that outside back wall of where the DJ would be set up. So they got in there and they tore this AC unit out of the wall. And then they helped each other through. 8 people got out through that. They had no idea where he was, and they were like, we're not gonna die begging. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna try to get out of here. And they did.
Damn.
And they did. And here's the mindset of our shooter. He now texts his wife and says, "Are you watching the news?"
And her response?
She didn't.
Wow.
She was shocked. At first they thought she was involved. And I can understand why. But our feds, they checked her out from, like we love to say, from snout to tail, head to toe.
Right.
And she really didn't. She didn't know anything about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. He had actually given her $1,000 the morning before and sent her to family in California.
wow.
So she was in California, in Southern
Okay.
California with her family. And that's why he texts her like, "Hey, are you watching the news?" That hits me like a game. Now, he's taken the lives of 320 people, and he has time to fucking brag, "Hey, are you watching the news?"
Right.
So at 5 a.m., 3 major events will occur. The chief medical examiner, Dr. Stefani, arrives with confirmation that there are 30 dead. A CSI team and first responders set up exactly what you just said, Lav, rolling triage stations. There were injured and there were dead because they didn't distinguish between. The officers didn't look and go, "Yeah, they're probably dead." They walked in, they went in, there's a body, pull it out. They walked in, there's a body, pull it out. They weren't trying to figure out who was dead and who wasn't. They just wanted everybody out. So there were people that were on the backs of pickup trucks, that were on the ground, that people, had laying in the back seats of their car. And so there were triage units going around everywhere, stabilize them enough to get them transported out. The second would be 40 injured club goers arrive at Orlando Regional Medical Center. The third, SWAT blows a hole in the wall that didn't breach the outside of pulse. Unfortunately, they put bombs in, but because of the thickness that is needed for club walls, so that your acoustics are good and they stay good and they stay contained, and you're not, rocking out everybody for 50 miles. They can't get their explosives to go farther than the second layer, the second place of this wall. So they start using armored vehicles, and they just they hit a hole and they start going through with these armored vehicles, and they just start smashing their way in. Unfortunately, they thought they were right next to, and then they thought, well, first they thought they were right next to, so they backed up, and then they went in thinking they were hitting the back of the bathroom. Unfortunately, what they hit was a hallway. But using another armored vehicle, they smash in an exit door, and they're able to free 30 more people.
Damn.
Approximately 5:15, multiple gunshots are heard. It was discovered that as SWAT was attempting to breach another wall, Omar Mateen flees the bathroom, shooting at officers who return fire. At 5:53 a.m., Orlando Police Department declare Omar Mateen is neutralized. The terror was over. This 29-year-old monster was dead.
So, in the aftermath, on June 12th of every year, survivors, first responders, and families of lost loved ones gather to pull their memories and share their strengths.
Live through times when hate and fear seem stronger. We rise and fall, and light from dying embers, remembrances that hope and love last longer. And love is love is love is love is love is love.
Each year, the 49 lost are remembered for their love and embracement of life.
Here is Steve Thomason's 911 call after receiving a text from his son.
About to die. Yes, my son was shot in the club in the Pulse in Orlando, and he's still in the bathroom when he's bleeding. He got shot, and nobody's going in for him.
Do you know which bathroom he's in?
He's in the Pulse. He's in the club. He's in the
Yes,
bathroom.
I understand. There's several bathrooms, though. Do you know which one he's in?
I don't know what bathroom, no.
Okay.
Nobody's going in for him.
No, we do have lots of help out there. They're trying to get into the place.
I know.
Okay, and do you know where he was shot at?
I hit the ground, and I started to just ask myself, what the hell is going on? And once I realized what was going on, I decided to protect myself because I saw people just falling into the ground. And that's why he decided to shoot me 4 times in the back. So he shoots me, he shot me 4 times in my lower back. And that's when my arm got on the way of somebody else getting shot, and that's when on the impact made my arm explode. Now, I believe that's where I lost.
Orlando observes the Pulse Remembrance Day, adding a pride flag along with an American flag, and it flies at half staff. And all throughout the United States, and I know especially here in California too, all of our American flags on June 12th fly at half staff.
I was shot 9 times.
At 4 p.m. each June 12th, the First Methodist Church on East Jackson Street in Orlando rings their bells 49 times as part of the One Orlando Alliance, who goes to remember how his son Shane brought laughter and joy to everybody that he met. Doesn't think about his loss.
And every person in this room, our hearts go out to all of those affected by this atrocity. All we can say is you are not on your own right now. Your tragedy is our tragedy. Equal is embraced and is loved. Hate will never win. Together, we have to make sure of that.
The One Orlando Alliance is a group that got together of all people, gay, straight, trans, religious, non-religious, to honor, support, and remember 49 people who just went to have a good time. I know in the beginning we said that the possible motivation for Mateen was the airstrike that killed this guy that he, this ISIS leader that he idolized.
Right.
But stick with me here, guys. Here's a possible real motivation. Mateen had been to several gay clubs with a male coworker, and this included the Pulse. He'd expressed interest in dating the coworker and did not shy away from advances made toward him within the four-wall safety of these gay clubs. There are several contradicting reports about Mateen's sexuality, but three things are proven facts. First, Mateen chatted with men on a dating app called Jacked.
Okay.
And both of Mateen's ex-wives stated they had witnessed him engaging in ways that suggested that he was possibly closeted.
I would have said that.
I've known people who they are self-hating.
I would say that he probably had gay tendencies as a child, and his parents severely punished him for it.
Because it said in my research that Mateen's father regularly beat the shit out of him, but it never said what for.
Teaching him
Mateen's
to be a
father.
man.
Or trying to, like John Wayne Gacy's father, trying to beat a man into him.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about Mateen's father, he had, I don't know if he still has, I know he did. I didn't look, to be honest, because I don't really give a shit about him. He had a YouTube television show. And at 2 a.m., as Omar had started firing into the crowd at the Pulse, he went and in a live episode, Dari said, quote, "To the people revolution in Afghanistan, in this month of Ramadan, the gay and lesbian issue is something God will punish. And the servants of God shouldn't have anything to do with it." Now tell me that motherfucker did not know his son was about to go do what he did.
Right. He did.
And he says, and Omar and he were both delusional, because remember we said Omar told people that Osama bin Laden was his uncle, and he acted like the Virginia Tech shooter, like Cho was his best friend. Omar's dad went and said that he was going to put in his name for the election for president of Afghanistan. All of this from Florida. And then a year after putting that video out, put out another video claiming to be the president of Afghanistan.
Interesting.
But on that, the FBI, through their investigations, they put out a statement saying there's no evidence of Mateen having a male lover or engaging in homosexual behaviors. They believed it was a ploy to shame Mateen and Mateen's family after the shooting.
Let me just put this out there. When I was in college, I dated air quotes straight girls. Because this was early 2000s, we didn't come out. I was always out because I had a mother that told me I was perfect and nothing was unnatural about the way I lived my life. But these women, their parents did not do the same. And a lot of them came from very religious backgrounds. Some of them came from very small towns. I came from a small town, but it never, there was no
Right.
kickback because of it. And I will guarantee you, like I would put money on, that if you went back and searched their computers, those, the old Verizon phones, you're not going to find anything on those accounts that is evidence of them having a lesbian affair. Because you don't stay closeted by opening the door and showing people what you're doing in the privacy of your own home.
Right.
Was he a closeted, self-hating homosexual? We don't know. Was he just a horrible guy? That we do.
Well, I mean, we know that all active shooters choose their specific, because they're not choosing a specific person. It's not a specific target. It's a specific area. It's a specific place that they go to. And there's some sort of hatred or something associated with that place.
Mm-hmm. That community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because let's go back into history for just a moment. Adolf Hitler targeted Jews, mass, genocide. Ku Klux Klan members targeted African American people. It wasn't quite a genocide, but it was pretty damn close.
There's some others coming out. Got them. I got this one. Please help my friends. They're up there. They're very injured. They're coming. Okay. Is there no suspect up there? Put your hands behind your back.
I would love to talk about everybody. I would love to tell you all about all 49 of these people. But we do want to tell you some stories of overcoming, of finding peace. Callie Adino and her best friend from junior high, Omar Capoe. Callie was shot in the back and in the arm, but Omar was killed. And at 20 years old, he was actually the youngest person in the Pulse shooting to be killed. She said he wanted to be a dancer and an actor. I mourn his dreams. He had a bright future ahead of him. Callie, through several back surgeries, has been able to go on and has been able to complete her college degree and is going to own her own business.
Oh, good.
Brandon Wolf was hiding in the bathroom with his best friends, Drew Linon and Juan Guerrero, when Omar Mateen opened fire on the crowded bathroom.
Okay. Listen, sir, I want you to stay where you are, where you feel safe, okay? Keep the phone with you. They have deputies working the incident, or officers working the incident, okay? I have to answer other calls, but keep the phone with you. Stay where you are if you feel safe there, okay?
No, he's gonna kill us.
In his memoir, A Place for Us, Wolf remembers his friends and their lust for life. Brandon has become an activist. He rallies with other mass shooting survivors to stop gun violence that, in his opinion, has reached epidemic proportions. I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to impress upon anybody my belief, but just like a vehicle and just like an alcoholic drink, a car does not kill. A gun does not kill. It is the person behind it. It is the irresponsible person that drives when they're intoxicated. It is the angry, homicidal, suicidal person that has a gun. And guys, gun reform is not a real thing, because if we start trying to take guns out of the hands of our criminals, we're actually only going to take them out of the hands of our law enforcement, out of our law abiding citizens, out of our military. And criminals are going to find guns. It's simple.
It's absolutely simple. But unfortunately, not all survivors have peace. Orlando Torres was in the handicap stall of that women's bathroom. And he came in and shot it.
And when everything kind of settled and he was holding them hostage, he started telling people not to text anyone.
Throughout that period of hours, the gunman was in there with us, and he actually made a call to 911 from in there. Everybody could hear who was in the bathroom who survived.
I tried to call 911, Torres says, but it was so busy, I couldn't get through. All I could hear was big popping sounds. And then he has the nerve to tell us not to text anybody. But it's not only the survivors that are suffering with no peace. First responder Mary Wilson from the Miami-based FBI office began to dread each crime scene after working the pulse. She began to struggle, having problems at home and work.
After stumbling through mistakes, she lost her job in 2018 and was close to joining 2 other first responders from the Pulse who took their own lives. Quote, "I just can't close my eyes and not see those bodies. So many bodies." Mary has gone on and she has joined another organization. She is getting her life back together. But when you've chosen a career in law enforcement, military, federal, that's your life. That's what you wanted to do, probably since you were very young, junior high, high school. And you got to walk away from it because you're human. Military, law enforcement, first responders are some of the highest suicide victims. I'm glad that we could tell these stories, but there's just one left that I want to bring you, and Lav, that we want to bring you, because as a wife, as a mother, as a lesbian, Lav as an ally, as a mother, the story of 30-year-old accountant Eddie Justice hits home, and it hits hard. Eddie Justice had just entered the Pulse with his best friend, Demetrius Nollings. And as we said, Mateen walked in only 2-3 minutes after him. As the gunfire rained down on the best friends, they headed towards an exit at the end of a narrow hallway. But they got separated because it was dark, it was crowded, it was chaotic. Eddie slipped into the large women's bathroom where we already know many others had. Demetrius, he made it outside. He was able to get through that hallway and get out that exit door, and he made it out. He sends a Snapchat message to Eddie. "Where are you? Police outside. Send me a message back." Eddie messages back, I've been shot, going into shock. Tell them to hurry. But this is not the most heartbreaking part of Eddie Justice's story. After sending that message and then a message to his partner of the time that I love you, Eddie Justice will text his mom, Mina.
Are you near Paul's nightclub? No, I'm home. My son is stuck in the bathroom down there, and I got him on the other phone. I called before, but they called the dispatchers and all the lines were busy.
Ma'am, the phones have rolled over to the sheriff's office. They've got multiple officers and deputies on scene working the call right now, okay? Is he injured in any way, do you know?
Okay.
Ma'am, what I need him to do is to stay where he is. Don't go anywhere or do anything until the deputies and officers clear the area, okay? Just have him stay where he is.
Okay.
Okay, they've got, like I said, multiple deputies and OPD officers on scene, okay? Just tell him to stay where he is, stay tight, and follow the officers and deputies' directions.
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Not directly here, but I'm hearing gunshots.
At 2:06, Mommy, I love you. In club, they shooting. Mina, you okay? Eddie, trap in bathroom. Mina, what club? Eddie, call police. At 2:49, as danger closes in on Eddie, he texts again. He's coming. I'm going to die. Mina, which bathroom? Eddie, women's. Eddie, he has us. He's in here with us. Mina, stay down, baby. Is anybody hurt? Eddie, lots. I'm going to die.
All right, I'm with somebody who's texting with someone in the bathroom. The suspect advised he's going to attach 4 vests to 4 people in 15 to 20 minutes in the different directionals of the club.
Mina, he's there with you? Eddie, yes. He's a terror. Mina, are you hurt? Stay there. He don't like gay people. You still there? Answer your damn phone. Text me, please. Eddie, I love you. Eddie would never answer. Mina stood outside the Pulse, waiting for news of her son.
Where's my son?
She would join at the Ramada Inn the other families that were waiting to hear about their loved ones. There were women who sat dazed. There was one woman who cried hysterically, and another who continued to vomit because they had heard about their loved ones. Their loved ones had already been declared dead. It would be almost 24 hours later, in the early morning between Sunday and Monday, that Mina Justice would see the name of her baby boy Eddie as one of the 49 lost.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
I can't, for the life of me, imagine. We saw it with 9/11 too. People who in the last moments called their family, texted their family, sent emails.
Uh-huh.
And I imagine for them, it rips your heart out. For some people, they don't understand why women choose to love other women, men choose to love other men. They don't understand why.
It's the same as me choosing to be attracted to men. That's not a choice that I make. That's just what it is.
And thank you for that, because that's exactly where I was going. You may not understand this. You may not understand a transgendered woman. You may not understand a transgendered man that they chose to change their sex. It's not a choice, guys. You didn't wake up one morning and say, you know what? I like men, I like women. I'm air quotes normal. We don't wake up one day and say we want to be with the same sex. It's something that's always with us. It's something we don't understand, especially when all of our friends are chasing boys or chasing girls and you're chasing girls. But I would like to just thank everybody who is an ally for our community, all of my friends that stand beside me. So hold your loved ones, call your mom, tell that one friend you don't talk to enough that you love them. So on that note, this was a very heavy episode, and thank you all for joining us. And catch us on the flip side.
Bye.